Welcome, everybody, to the Cole and Tabor podcast. We're here to do one thing and one thing only, talk about movies. And this time around, we got 4 movies in particular that we both watched. We'll see if we get to all of them. But, yeah, that's the plan. Let's get to it.
Let's go. Oh my goodness. Where do we start?
I think we should start with TMNT.
Okay.
That was the furthest back for me. What about you?
Furthest back for me was Haunted Mansion.
Okay.
But I'm down for TMNT.
Okay.
I thought it was pretty good. I like that animation is becoming more and more, especially like the 3D animation is becoming more and more unique every time.
Yeah.
It's not like, I don't know, when we were doing this a couple years ago with animation, it felt like every movie kind of felt the same or looked the same, had that like Disney Pixar style.
Right.
But now we have this. We have the Miles Morales. Wish looks pretty interesting.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So, you know, because that's the fun thing about animation is that it doesn't have to look the same. It doesn't have to look like a movie or like it's real. We just kind of fell into that because I think maybe Toy Story or Pixar was so popular for a while.
Yeah.
I really like the like hand-drawn aesthetic that was on everything. I think early on, I don't know if I was into it as much. Like that first opening scene. But then as it kept going, you know, I was more and more just like taken by it.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I agree on all points. I think that the cool thing about animation in the last few years is that like each movie has used like a blend of different like animation styles, and that was really cool, or has been really cool. And that was definitely represented in this movie. Yeah, they went into like hand-drawn cut scenes and stuff like that. I liked that a lot.
Yeah.
I think overall the movie was like it was it was good. It was, but I would say it was fun, but like not very clever. Like it was about as straightforward in its writing and story as anything could possibly be. But it was fun, and that, I think, was what was important here.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a kids' movie. And I'm just imagining, because I saw this on a Sunday morning, and it was packed. And, well, not packed, you know. It wasn't Oppenheimer packed or Barbie packed, but there was a good amount of people.
Okay,
and a child started yelling with, like, crying or something.
Oh, boy.
Or, like, not being restless. And for a second, I had the thought, fucking kids. And then I realized I'm in a kids movie. So it's like, what am I can't complain about anything.
Right. That's funny.
But yeah, I think, you know, it's dumbed down enough that I do agree that it's not completely satisfying, maybe as an adult. But they do have those, like, little things. Like, they do have themes, like the father theme, and that we see a lot in movies, but especially kids' movies. But they have, you know, there's substance there.
Yeah, and I think the maybe not wit, but like the style of like retort in their dialogue, like they were just fun, like funny performances, really. So even when stuff wasn't particularly like clever on the page, it was like they were just funny.
Yeah.
So that was good.
I think some of it felt overwritten for me personally.
Okay.
Because there were times when they would like do the self-referential, like, did I just say that? I'm so wacky. Like, kind of dialogue. The kind of, I don't know. It felt very like trying to be meta, or trying to be zoomery. Like,
okay, yeah.
But also, I did have a question. Are we too old to be able to judge the dialogue accurately, right? Because like some of it felt very zoomery.
Yeah. Probably. I mean, honestly, I am astonished by the speed with which new words are created and then fall out of use like week by week.
Yeah.
And I just like I don't keep up on that. Like I'm not in those places where those things are being created and spoken, and
Yeah.
so yeah, I'm out of touch with all of it.
I mean, with our TikTok talk last time, it was like both of us don't really keep up, and that's where it feels like a lot of that stuff comes to the surface.
Mm-hmm. I said the word tight at work the other day, and when it came out of my mouth, I was like, I do still say that. Okay.
Yeah, I still say dude and dope.
Yeah.
I don't say rad.
My two bosses say rad, and they are 37 and 46. Rad is like every other word for them. That's rad.
Dude, that's dope.
I love it.
I don't know. I think about the language a lot, and because like it's really hard when writing something to not fall into those aspects. But like I want to use kind of like the lingo that I use on a day-to-day basis, but then when you're writing it, sometimes it just sounds very
put on.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to feel like is this movie accurately representing how teenagers talk because they're teenagers in a modern day, or is it that like 30-year-olds writing teenager dialogue?
Right, yeah. That is hard to know from our perspective.
Yeah, because we're 22 now, and that's crazy. 22 in Oklahoma.
The time flies. I thought we lived in Nebraska.
No, Oklahoma. We keep moving.
Right, yeah.
We keep moving.
Yep. But we keep our backgrounds.
Yep. Well, yeah, this is green screen. You can't see when I try to touch this hat. Yeah.
You see that energy buzz?
Yeah. But yeah, I thought as well as I'm losing it. So the dialogue kind of took me out of it every once in a while. I liked a lot of what was happening, or like it wasn't like this overburden on my shoulders like that I couldn't enjoy it, but there was just sometimes it was bad, or it felt too much.
Agreed. I also like given that there was nothing particularly like good or like compelling about the actual story, it caused me to wonder, because when it says written by, there are like 5 names on that screenplay, and I'm just like, how do you get 5 people together and not one of them is a good writer? Like the movie survived on the performances, the style of animation, and I mean the IP itself, like that's always going to bring people in.
It did,
and just some simple Seth Rogen-y humor. Like that was kind of what kept this movie afloat. But there was nothing like good about it.
Yeah, it felt very style over substance, which is
fine.
You need those. Because like the action, I like the action in most of it. I really like that montage where they're shaking down the mob bosses.
That was fun.
Yeah, that was probably my favorite part. I liked all the creatures. In Superfly was really good.
Yeah. Yep. Yep, they were good.
So yeah, I don't know. There is a lot to like here for sure, but if you tried to dig too deep, it would be difficult.
Did you notice? Sorry, in the credits, it said introducing Paul Rudd. Was this his first ever voice role?
There's no way, right?
That's what it said. It said and introducing Paul Rudd, and I was like, is that a joke? Like,
it seems like
it
would be.
They would put a joke.
Normally, that's just like whenever they're
like their first like performance. Like that's what I thought too. And so at first I was like, oh, that's hilarious that they're and introducing, this like mega star who's like 50 years old.
Yeah.
But then I was like, oh, maybe it's just because like he's never done voice before, and this is something they could throw on there because it was technically his first voice performance or something. That's what I started wondering.
Normally, credits aren't too silly, so that's why I just
Right,
don't know.
right.
Because credits are a very big business thing. I feel like.
True, yeah. Your like guild memberships can depend on like what's in the credits of a movie,
Yeah. Like yeah, true. Because there's like that one story where Robert Rodriguez had to get. I don't know if he's in the Directors Guild now, but he couldn't be. He had to leave the Directors Guild in order to release Sin City. Because the credit was co-directed by Robert Rodriguez and the guy who wrote Sin City. The comic.
Frank Miller.
Yeah.
Or is it Mark Miller?
No, Mark Miller is a Oklahoma
That's
specific
kick-ass.
guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, kick ass. Not the car dealership.
I forgot. That's the name of a dealer around here, huh?
Yeah, in our famous state of
Nebraska.
I don't know if they have Mark Millers anywhere else, so like maybe
Yeah,
it's
I don't
not
know.
that unique. You've seen more states than I actually. I don't know if that's true.
Me neither.
I think the family plot line is starting to lose me though, because every time I see it, it's kind of I don't know. But I also did like it that they didn't have to really fight all the bad guys. Like
Yeah.
I thought that was interesting that it wasn't about like as soon as those people or those we'll call them people
Mutants.
yeah I'm mutant inclusive here. As soon as those people wait, but if I say those people, does that make me not inclusive?
Kind of.
As soon as those fellas, okay, there's no way out of this. As soon as the mutants became like they were given a way to just be cool, they were like, yeah, let's just be cool. Why do we have to be assholes? And I thought, I don't know, that's different. That's probably the only really different thing in this.
Yeah, it was like totally fine to break from formula like that. It was great.
Yeah, Bebop and Rocksteady didn't have to be bad guys.
Although, yeah, I found that funny because, like, I'm not as familiar with the other ones, but Bebop and Rocksteady are, like, always there. They're, like, constantly bad guys, so that was interesting for them to turn as well. Also, did you notice that this is Seth Rogen's second time playing a warthog?
Oh, is it?
Yeah, he played Pumbaa in the live-action Lion King. Isn't that weird?
Yeah. I wonder if that just happened. Or I wonder if Seth Rogen probably knows. He probably is in on that joke.
Probably.
Is Rocksteady... Wait, is Bebop a warthog?
I think he's a warthog. I don't think he's just a pig. Or maybe he is a pig, but I think they used the word warthog at some point in this movie.
Okay.
And it may not be technically accurate, but like I think it was said. But yeah, fun stuff. Fun movie. Fun animation style. Fun voice acting.
It's fun to have... Because, I mean, if we're speaking... It's hard not to compare it to Miles Morales.
Yeah.
But I think if, like, Miles Morales is the kind of the kids movie that elevates what a fun family movie can be, this movie kind of brings it back down, but it keeps, the elements that you want, which is, like, the unique art style, the reimaginings of characters we've seen before, like Splinter just being, like, an old guy.
Yeah.
But like not like a kung fu master. He's just like a dad from the suburbs.
Right. Yeah. Which was great.
I like that April O'Neil kind of had that full arc.
Yeah.
Yeah, and her like all their contributions were pretty great. Like all the turtles had personalities, and so yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
It's
well
good
written,
stuff.
just overwritten for me sometimes.
Okay. Fair enough.
Oh,
What's next?
it feels like we busted through that one a little too fast.
Okay.
But we're moving on
All right.
to
What are we moving on
something.
to?
Okay, can we attach this? Yes, we can. Built families, right?
Hmm.
And we're going to talk about Haunted Mansion, which is also about built families and outcasts
True.
coming together.
Perfect segue.
Yeah, even
Perfect.
though technically in TMNT they weren't really they were like two outcast groups that came together. And in Haunted Mansion it's like a bunch of different outcasts all coming together.
You're right.
I'm over-explaining
it
it.
all fell apart. It fell
Yeah.
apart. It's screwed. We can't use it.
Okay, well, what are we talking about then? But yeah, you start Haunted Mansion.
Okay. Haunted Mansion was it was I think I was ready for it to kind of like not be worth my time just because there seems to be little reason to remake Haunted Mansion because the other one is just fine. Like people like it, Yeah. And it has some of the feelings of the ride and everything. So I wasn't really sure why this one came out.
Mm-hmm.
But I found that despite some like subpar performances, like I had fun with it. It did have the Haunted Mansion-y vibe that you want, and particularly the villain. He felt like he epitomized the like feeling of Haunted Mansion, and yeah. So I had fun with it visually and humor wise and story wise. Like it was fun. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say about it. It was fun. That's
fun.
not true. I have more to say, but that's my overall
Opinion?
opinion of it. Yeah.
Overall, I think I liked it less and less.
Okay.
I thought it was a waste of my time.
Okay.
And like there were a couple of different things that led me there, and I think it felt stale at some points where the movie, maybe it was the editing or something, but or maybe it was the dialogue or the act, or maybe it was just the acting, because like I like all the actors, and I like Lakeith Stanfield, but some of the times when he was talking or they were talking, any of them, it just didn't connect. Or like
right.
The editing maybe was that they weren't talking to each other. They were talking, I don't know. I think I've said that before. But it didn't really feel like they were talking.
Yeah.
I don't know. Rosario Dawson and her son, I looked up his name, Charles Dillon. I didn't really feel like any chemistry between their...
Okay.
I don't know.
I think I agree with you on the like. I think especially in the case of Lakeith Stanfield and Rosario Dawson, like a lot of their lines just seem to like throw away first takes that like they should have gotten multiple takes of this thing, and they were just like warming up and they just gave like the crappiest delivery of a line, and they ran with it. Is what it felt like on several of them. And so I started thinking, because I also like Lakeith Stanfield and I think I like Rosario Dawson too, but I started wondering as I was watching it, I'm like, have I only seen these two in like accidentally good dramatic roles? Are they actually like not very adept actors? Because I was not impressed with either of them.
I think Lakeith Stanfield, I can't really name another Rosario Dawson movie off the top of my head. But I think Lakeith Stanfield, the stuff I've seen him in, for the most part, I think he, like they gave him the character that he should be playing, kind of like an eccentric loner, which is kind of what he's always played. You know, if you could boil down a man's career, which I don't want to do, but it just didn't hit for me this time. Like it just, I don't know.
And
like I guess. I don't know if his character was fully realized.
Okay.
Because, like, I understand the wife plot and,
Yeah.
like, maybe wanting to carry on, or I'm not even talking about, like, the wanting to see his wife or, like, being sad or depressed. I don't know why the dude built a camera to try to see ghosts. Because he didn't believe in ghosts.
Right.
At all,
Yeah.
ever during the movie, and then and then he built a camera to try to see ghosts. I guess just to make his wife happy, but then also he built that before she died. So I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like that definitely wasn't fleshed out very well. I think the basic idea was he built it as a way to combine their two primary interests.
Okay.
So it kind of was for her, and then after she dies, like what I don't understand is like, based on what he said during the tour, he must have like gone and taken this camera to a bunch of different places and like tried to see ghosts and just like never saw anything. But I think that's stupid, because if this is a world wherein hauntings are real, then like half the buildings in New Orleans would have like had creepy crawly stuff running around in it, and he would have caught pictures and had evidence. Like if he had a quantum lens or whatever that would allow him to see those things, like he would have seen it in the years he spent trying. So I thought that was weak.
It feels like the movie is basically saying that there is only one haunted place, and that's the place
Yeah.
that we're in. Which
Like
is
how
weird.
silly. Yeah. And how poor an excuse to make him like a miserable doubter. Like it just didn't work that very well.
Yeah. And also, why would he keep that job as the he clearly hated it, but it's like I once again, I get the wife angle, but I also don't at the same time, because it, like, there was no passion in his character's
Sure.
pursuit.
Yeah.
Like there wasn't even like this, like an undertone of like, I don't know, it just felt off. And I'm wondering if it's not that. I just don't think like they gave him a very good fleshed out character.
And it's funny because I didn't realize I had any of these problems with it until we started talking.
Yeah.
Because I think I just like sat down, and the second it kind of brought in some of the Disney-ish flair. I just kind of like got into it, just kind of sat back and let it happen. And I think, I did note some of the weaknesses, but it was mostly just like, this isn't like horribly offensive to my taste. This is like fine, and it's fun. It's, ghosts flying around. Like I just kind of, that was my experience watching it. But you're right, it is not not a very strong movie.
No, and I don't know. I think if I was able to turn off my brain during it, I may have had more fun. Just for whatever
Sure.
reason, I couldn't. I mean,
Yeah.
then you look at like Owen Wilson's character, and for a while it like the movie tries to make it obvious that he is just like a sleazebag
Yeah.
con artist, but also like you don't really. I didn't really get the sense of that. Like it kind of just felt like his character was in limbo. Like they didn't really explore that, I guess.
Yeah.
And also, I think it would have been better if he was a real man.
Yeah, just a sleazy like priest.
Yeah.
not sleazy, but yeah, kind of a dirtbag.
Yeah, a dirtbag priest is a lot better than like a con artist in my eyes.
Yeah, it's a more interesting character anyway, because at least there's some duality.
Yeah, and then Danny DeVito was barely in it. Whenever he was in it, every time he was on screen, he was like about to die. He was dying. He was possessed. He was being thrown around. Like
I actually loved when Lakeith Stanfield is like pulling him down from the stairs. He's like, "You have a heart condition." He yanks him off the stairs. That was hilarious.
Yeah, maybe I'm overthinking the Danny. He now that I'm thinking, it is more funny for him to be about to die in every scene rather than. It took me a long time to realize who Jamie Lee Curtis was.
Oh.
like I got it once I like listened to the voice and I remembered her name in the credit, but like when she was in the ball, it wasn't clear.
No.
Which isn't a problem,
And
but yeah.
I think it was like Jamie Lee Curtis is a star, so it made sense for them to cast her in some capacity.
Mm-hmm.
But I hate when I just hate when people do accents when they're not up to the task. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if it's someone you can't trust to do an accent, don't have them do an accent. I'm looking at you, Tom Hanks.
No, dude. Tom Hanks is catching strays.
I just feel like anytime he does an accent, it sucks. Even a relatively straightforward one,
Yeah.
like an old school stereotypical Italian accent for Geppetto, it was terrible.
Yeah. The more I think about it, Tom Hanks is more of a. I like him when he plays Tom Hanks, but like, kind of is the mind of the character rather than him like trying to transform himself. He's not a method actor. He's like a George Clooney. In my eyes.
Yeah, I get that.
Like he can play emotion. I don't think he can play other people very well.
Yeah, especially people from any culture other than like American of his own era.
Yeah.
Although I guess he did okay playing Walt Disney, so maybe I'll just say American.
Walt Disney?
Yeah, in Saving Mr. Banks.
No, I've never seen it. Holy shit. That's crazy.
That was pretty good.
I think the only like real performance I liked was Tiffany Haddish.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I liked her too.
Yeah.
I totally, it's funny, I forgot she was in it, but I was waiting for you to say the kid. What's the kid's name?
Oh, Charles Dixon? Dylan?
Charles Dillon. I loved him.
He was good.
He didn't have any of the, child acting is like a tough thing to judge because it's like, part of you has to wonder if like any good child actor is like just living a horrible life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But in a world of very few actually good child actors, like he was good.
Yeah. Yeah. Believable.
Yeah. But yeah, Tiffany Haddish was great too. I agree.
Yeah, I felt like she actually had like the complexities in her character were a little more believable. Yeah. Like the
she was good at the comedy and the drama.
Yeah, and it was like, is she a psychic? Is she not a psychic? Like that kind of like it. That felt well used, well played.
Yeah, for sure. I think it for me is like kind of everyone else in the periphery was like used where they should have been. Like Owen Wilson, he's funny and that's all I need him for. Danny DeVito, he's funny and that's all I need him for. Tiffany Haddish, she can do both. They kind of used her for both, like funny and drama. Rosario Dawson and Lakeith Stanfield, I kind of occasionally like cracked a smile at something they said, but like I didn't really feel it from either of them, like you were saying. And then the kid I liked though. But what a shame for the two leads to be probably the two weakest performances in the whole movie.
It was crazy. And I don't know. And then I know you said you liked Jared Leto. I just don't know if Jared Leto, like I think Jared Leto could have been any the villain could have been any actor.
Sure,
like it could have been who's the Oompa Loompa in Wonka?
Hugh Grant.
Yeah, like that character could have been played by Hugh Grant. I don't think the movie would be any different.
You're right.
It may have been better, in my opinion. I liked, the H.H. Holmes vibe, where it was like the backstory behind him.
Yeah.
But then
that's a good comparison. Yeah.
But and then like Jared Leto himself, though, I just don't know if any of that, like if his acting, was any good.
Oh, that's too bad. I enjoyed that. I think I enjoyed how cartoony it was, how heavily leaning into like this is the haunted mansion version of Ghosts, which is like next door neighbor to like the Ghostbusters version of Ghosts, where it's like it's not quite ghosts as we perceive them. Yeah. In our culture, it's a little more out in the open and a little more goofy than that. And I thought his character was the epitome of that in this movie, and I loved it. I loved the way he looked, loved the way he acted, loved the visuals. Yeah.
I do think the lore was probably my favorite part, and I wish we had gotten introduced to more ghosts, but like had
Okay.
because like I liked the ghost that just wanted to go to the ocean. Like that was cool.
Hmm.
I really
That
liked
was.
him. And when they were talking about like the ghost horse, like and then when it shows up later, like that was good.
Yeah. That was fun.
I just wish they would have like delved a little deeper into that lore rather than focus on all these alive characters that I didn't really care for, I guess.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
I don't know. Yeah, it's not like a bad movie. I don't think it's bad. I think the movie was well made. I think it does what it wants. Where, like you're saying, it's funny where it needs to be. It's emotional where it needs to be. It hits all those beats that you want it to. I just think by the end of it, I was like, like I didn't need to stick around.
Yeah. Agreed. I didn't feel like Lakeith Stanfield's character's like resolution was strong enough to be worth it.
No.
Like the final showdown was just kind of like,
yeah.
Okay, I guess characters' arcs are closing, but it's just like I didn't care.
Yeah, the finale left me wanting so much more.
Mm-hmm.
Like I would have wanted like more on. Did they even show how Jamie Lee Curtis got out of the orb?
No, they briefly mentioned that she asked Tiffany Haddish to perform some sort of spell that would get her out of the orb, and it was just kind of mentioned in passing, but they didn't show anything.
Yeah, it felt like they disappeared for a bit and then came back on screen when they needed to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like the final showdown just didn't have any. Like even like it felt a little like it was too much, but it wasn't cohesive. Like all those they were like, ghosts fight for us now, and then the ghost came down, and then there was other ghosts still fighting for the other dude, and then
Yeah.
it was just all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I found myself thinking at the very end when he is like defeating the Jared Leto's ghost character, and he's like being pulled down by like these like energy. He's like tangled up in these like electrical energy things, pulling him down into hell or whatever, and he's like gripping onto the surface. He's just like begging for Lakeith Stanfield to reconsider. And his response is to just boot him in the face and just like kick him down the hole. I felt like I remember thinking at that moment that if they had gotten a little more visceral with that, if it had really been like a boot to a face and it felt a little shocking, that would have made up for the corniness of having him finish him off with a boot to the face,
Yeah.
And it might have been a little out of form for the movie, but I found myself wanting that. I was like, that would have kind of made up for that.
The movie should have leaned a little more into the scariness, into that.
Yeah, I think you're right.
There was one part where it was scary-ish, and that's when the Rosario Dawson and Charles Dillon, I don't remember the character names. I'm not going to call them by character names. When they first move into the house. And I felt like that was maybe the only real scary scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then it's immediately cut short because, you see that because it's like the Charles Dillon. No, yeah, okay. So it's Charles Dillon goes into the room and they have the classic, like what's going on behind him type thing. And it's like a little silly and a little scary, and that was pretty good. And then he runs out of the room and meets his mom. And then there's a suit of armor chasing them or whatever that moves. Right. And that was when it got too goofy. And I felt like the movie just kept with the too goofy for most of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you. I think especially, like, the sea ghost that followed the Keith Stanfield out of there, like, the way in which it haunted him was, I mean, even the stuff at the mansion was, like, very overt, but the stuff that followed him back home was like so ridiculously overt that it's like, how do you even want me to buy that this is related to the hauntings that people speak about in real life? Like you're basing this on a phenomenon that is interesting to people in real life, and you're doing things that completely detach it from like our
Yeah, like if this stuff was happening, it'd be like, yeah, no shit, there's ghosts.
Yeah, exactly. There's no mystery. It's like not. Yeah. Anyway.
I don't know. The interesting thing about this, and this is where I'm going to announce the transition again.
Oh,
is
yeah.
that at some point, Guillermo del Toro was attached to Haunted Mansion.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know in what capacity, because I'm not Guillermo del Toro and I don't follow that all too well.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point he dropped it. The Last Voyage of the Demeter was also something he was attached to. Burr, 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 burr. Did it.
Nice.
I'm going to hit the mic.
Noise. Burr, burr, burr.
Woo, woo.
Another connection, I think, that exists between those two movies
Okay.
is they both had really good child actors. I loved Toby in Last
Toby was
Voyage.
good.
These two kids were like killers, man. Super good actors.
Pretty good. I want to bring up in the Last Voyage of Demeter. I've
got a lot to say about the Last Voyage of the Demeter.
Yeah, is it because
so I'm ready. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're chill. You're chill. I want to find what is her name. I think you pronounce this name something like Ashley.
Okay.
Aisling.
Oh, I think it's Island. I think that's how you say that. Island. Is she Irish?
I don't know. Oh, she probably is. Well, now I have to figure this out. One sec. Pronounce.
Is this the girl that played Anna?
Dude, why is there an intro to how to say this? There's like a whole intro. Just tell me how to pronounce it. Ashlyn.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I only know that because I used to watch a lot of British TV panel shows,
Nice.
and there's an Ashlyn on there.
Nice. How
I also
interesting.
said Ashley, so I was wrong anyways.
But it was very close.
But she is in a movie called The Nightingale, and that movie's pretty good. So if I have to recommend anything, you should watch The Nightingale.
Okay, cool. I'll take it.
Back to The Last Voyage of Demeter, though. There's one thing I do want to talk about.
Cool.
When I was in the restroom after the movie, someone outside
You saw Dracula in the stall. I'm just kidding.
some dude outside of my stall said, was it supposed to be one of those stupid old monster things? Like the Warner Brothers stupid old monster things?
Okay. Do we want to get into it?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. Heavy spoilers ahead. This was, and I did not expect this. I did not see this coming. I didn't even know this movie was made by Universal.
Oh, wait, is it supposed to be a monster thing?
It is.
I thought that was a joke. I thought that was a joke.
So that's the thing, and I'll tell you why I think that. This is by no means confirmed. This is me speculating. But
besides the movie setting up a sequel, this is you speculating.
Right. So it sets itself up to continue. Him hunting Dracula down in London.
Mm-hmm. And Dracula is now Jack the Ripper.
Oh my gosh! I didn't even think about that. Spring Heel Jack. Spring Heel Jack.
Oh, you're right.
He would make he's got the top hat and everything. He'd make a great Spring Heel Jack.
Yeah.
Wow, I didn't even think about that. Oh, you're so right. Although I don't know what era Spring Heel Jack was, but
it seemed like it was that was like the Whitechapel era, whatever.
Probably.
Anyways, go on.
So, okay. So, the cane that, what's his name? The doctor, Corey Hawkins' character, finds in the casket. That is the cane from the 2010 Wolfman movie. Not like inspired by, like that is like exactly the same. Now, the cane is, it's interesting that they use that because it doesn't play a very important part in the 2010 Wolfman movie, but in the 1941 Wolfman, the silver wolf-headed handle cane is what is used to kill the Wolfman in the original.
Oh.
In the 2010 one, they had a wolf-headed cane just kind of as a callback, sort of. But the cane he finds in the casket is that exact same design as the 2010 Wolfman one.
Huh.
And now...
Could it be a leftover prop?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Because of those things we talked about. This was distributed by Universal. They're several years out from their last failed attempt to get the Universal monster verse off the ground. And they did set themselves up to continue off the heels of this one. So I think for all those reasons, it is another attempt at getting the MonsterVerse off the ground. And how sneaky! How sneaky! None of us
I mean, it would be better that way, right? Is that it doesn't really have? Didn't they? No, the Invisible Man. No, they're trying to do that, but or maybe they're just remaking the. I can't remember, because Ryan Gosling's supposed to be in the Wolfman.
Are they doing another Wolfman?
I don't know exactly what it's called. And these are rumors or like production announcements.
Okay.
Back when the Invisible Man came out, but Blumhouse was going to do a Wolfman, and it was like Ryan Gosling's idea. He didn't write it, but he was going to be the main actor.
Interesting.
Yeah.
My guess is that they're going to abandon whatever was going on in the. So this is what it looked like.
Yeah,
happened.
the dark universe is never going to happen.
That's what it's called, Dark Universe. Thank you. Well, I think they have their best chance at it with this one in terms of. Now, I'll just say it. I loved The Last Voyage of the Demeter. I thought it was a good movie aside from being related to anything else.
Yeah.
So I think that this one has the best chance of creating something that can stand on its own two legs. However, I have seen that the reviews for it are not great. So, all the critics disagree with me about it.
I mean, but if the movie makes money, they'll do whatever.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens on that.
And this is like the summer of movies making money, so it's like it's probably going to happen. Did you hear that apparently Del Toro is trying to do like a secret? Well, he was going to do like a Monster Universe thing. Maybe not that they're all. I don't remember. I don't think it's that they're going to all be in the same universe, but he's saying now that like the Shape of Water is going to be like his Creature of the Black Lagoon.
Creature from the Black Lagoon.
And then he wants to continue doing monster movies.
Right.
I don't know if he said that. I've literally only read like headlines.
Interesting.
But there have been a lot of headlines about Del Toro doing a monster universe. And I'm wondering, or redoing classic monster movies. And I'm wondering if this has anything to do with that.
Okay.
Especially since he was attached, at one point.
So, when the Mummy came out, like the Tom Cruise one, which I thought was abhorrent. I thought it sucked so bad.
Never watched it.
Yeah, not worth your time. They had big plans when they made that movie. That was, supposed to start up the universe, and they introduced Dr. Jekyll in that one, and
Javier Bardem was going to be a guy.
Yeah, so they had like a whole cast list announced for like the next several projects that they were going to create this dark universe out of. They had Angelina Jolie playing Bride of Frankenstein. Johnny Depp was going to be the Invisible Man. Javier Bardem was going to be Frankenstein's monster. I can't remember if they announced a Wolfman at that time or not, but they had all this in the works, and then they make the most crappy mummy movie you could ever conceive of. So of course the thing is dead on arrival, and so you would think they would just like leave it alone, but like how interesting that, and I don't know what plans have existed in the interim. Like maybe this Ryan Gosling thing was like related to the Tom Cruise universe, or maybe it was yet another iteration that never happened, or maybe it's part of what's going to still happen. I have no idea.
No, the Ryan Gosling thing is related to the Invisible Man that we got.
Okay, I see.
With Elizabeth Moss.
Which that one, I think that Invisible Man movie was like a pivot. I think Universal.
They gave it to Blumhouse, and then Blumhouse was like, well, we can make a movie for cheaper, and then they did that, and it made money.
Yep. because the version they wanted to realize under the Tom Cruise banner just was not going to happen.
Yeah.
So, but like, yeah, how sneaky and honestly, how fun that this movie that just looked like from the outside, especially to Dracula fans, just looked like a really good idea to like focus on this tiny part of the story and make a whole movie out of it. It's like, oh, how interesting, kind of artsy even.
Yeah.
And then it's a shoehorn into yet another dark universe thing. Like I actually didn't mind it at all. I didn't feel tricked, didn't feel slighted.
I didn't feel tricked. I think in my world, I would have ended it when with
Anna.
Yeah, burning.
Okay.
Just because it, like, I felt better with it being as bleak as it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you were doing a standalone movie, you certainly would have ended it there, and then that would have been. Whoop.
Yep.
Overall, I think for me, this movie, The Last Voyage of the Demeter, there's a good. It's hard to say because like there's a lot that I liked, but then there was also just a lot that I was meh about.
Okay.
Like I felt like the characters were all things we've seen a bunch, and the dynamics of those characters were very, like we've got the skeptic, the dude who doesn't believe in anything, the dude who only believes in the natural world, the really religious guy, and the mysterious person that knows everything, and then you go to that person to find out like the lore, and the old dude. Like I feel like all these characters have been done in movies a bunch of times, but I thought all of their dialogue was well written. So it's like whatever they were saying, like it wasn't that boilerplate. It's more just that they're
archetypes.
Yeah, their archetypes were boilerplate, but what they were saying felt like it had weight.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I was real taken with like all the performances. This was one where like literally everyone on screen, the people that are known and famous and the total unknowns, like everyone I thought was just killing it the whole time.
Yeah.
And it was written well, so they had good stuff to work with.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just like really believed that like this guy really was that archetype. Like I believed the performance, and then I think they also did themselves a big favor by like avoiding certain tropes, like with Anna, who you described her as like the person that who's kind of mysterious, who like has the answers to or can provide explanation. It's like while she definitely did fulfill that archetype, they avoided some of the cornier tropes with that. Like for example, when the doctor's like, so if we shoot, if we do trap this thing, will a gun kill it? And you expect her to whip out the stereotypical like has to be a silver bullet, blah blah blah, and give some detailed explanation.
Yeah.
But her response was, she's like, my people have spent like, I don't know what she say, like 100 years or something. My people have spent like 100 years subjugated to this thing. Do you think that I know how to kill it? And it was very like, I felt like the motivations, the conversations, the reactions to things that happened, I felt like all of them were reasonable.
Yeah.
And so like for
especially
her,
for their characters.
Yeah, and that was the only thing that would have made sense is that like of course she doesn't know how to kill it. Someone in her village would have done that, So it sidestepped all of the garbage parts of those archetypes and just made the people kind of real and believable, and I loved it.
I did really like the guy who I don't know their names, but the first dude that burns to death. Like I liked him a lot.
He was great.
Yeah.
Ogarin.
Yeah.
Something like that. Ogarin.
And I did like that how it was like he's not a vampire, but he is he's like a zombie that still abides by vampire rules.
Yeah.
Like
it was interesting.
He was a servant. He was a servant to Dracula.
Right.
I liked the design of Dracula, even though I feel like, it's the Midnight Mass Dracula. But did you watch Midnight Mass?
Loved it.
It's
so good.
In
Probably the best thing that guy has done.
Yeah, probably. That is really hard for me because that show is so good, and if my brain kept trying to come back to it while watching this,
Oh, okay.
and I'm wondering if any of my like not like the stuff that I didn't like was because Midnight Mass was this movie but longer, and
Yeah, more
the
developed.
monologues were longer and the characters were more fleshed out. Because I mean, like the main character for Midnight Mass's like first 6 episodes is the main character in this movie. Without like, but the character in this movie doesn't have the traumatic experience.
Yeah, yeah, right.
Um, but we don't have to do comparisons. I think my brain just kept going back to it for some reason.
I see. Yeah, that would be an interesting. I could definitely see how like comparing it could sour some of the movie.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was. I had nothing but a good time though.
that's good.
I mean from the get go, it also just felt like one of the like in terms of like large Hollywood, high budgeted studio films that are like period pieces.
Yeah,
This was like one of the few in recent years where it's just like I just actually believed they were in that period. I actually believed that these people
I don't even
were
think it was
people
that high
who
a
grew up
budget,
in that
right?
period. Was it not?
I don't know. It didn't because I feel like not that it matters, but I feel like it wouldn't have been. 45 million.
Oh yeah, that's not very big at all.
No.
I guess what I'm saying is
That's
just
like a
that
quick Google search. Please don't hurt me if that's not exactly the right one.
hold him to it.
Yeah. But
It
go
just
on.
felt very the period aesthetic just felt
All had good accents.
what's the word, legitimate, like yeah, like I just believed it, you know.
I agree. And I did like the ship. I think the ship was confusing because
Okay.
I also was asleep for the first like 5 minutes,
No.
kind of fading in and out. It was hard. It's been a rough week. You got to give me a break.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry you've been outside. Yeah.
Yeah. But so I don't know if they did a good job setting up the ship's layout, and I
Okay.
was just not there for it mentally. Because then when watching the ship, I was always confused on like where they were in relation to other things. Like
I see.
when the kid was trapped in the captain's quarters, I was like,
Hmm.
where is the captain's quarters related to where we are? Or like,
Yeah.
yeah.
I think you might have slept through the part where Toby shows the doctor around the ship.
Okay. Does it make it
Um,
easier?
it makes it a little clearer. Like, yeah, the captain's quarters are, well, I guess I don't know exactly where they were, but they were
It was like
down
underneath.
in the hole, yeah, and it was like opposite of the cargo hold, like on the other side or whatever. Like you go down the stairs, it's like sheep and cargo is over here, and then captain's quarters. I think it was something like that.
Okay. And I don't know. So maybe on a rewatch that would be cleared up for me.
Sure.
And then I also don't know if I missed this dialogue, but why didn't they just, after finding out where the creature slept, why didn't they do anything related to where he was sleeping?
I don't remember. I don't remember like exactly what point in the story that happened. I mean, I remember them going, "This one looks different," and then doing like the puzzle box corners of the comic.
Yeah.
Like that was all kind of weird, but
Like, how does he get out of there every night?
yeah. Also, why would he out himself by obviously like the whole point in? So he's taking all of this earth from his homeland so that he can rest in it, like basically put it in the basement of his new home.
Mm-hmm.
And rest in it. That's part of his mythos. And so he's taking all these caskets of earth and shipping them, and that has purpose.
Yeah.
But like him hiding among them is like it's not supposed to be known that he's there. So like all of the boxes should look alike. They should all just be boxes of earth, but he happens to be inside of one of them. But
Yeah.
instead he totally outs
With,
himself
like,
with
a-
this like nice ornate.
Big, like, dragon medallion on the front that's like a lot more pristine than like the stamp that was on the other ones.
Right. Yep. So, yeah. So when they found that, I don't remember like what it preceded. Like
It was
maybe
just
it
before
was
Toby died.
okay.
I
So maybe they
believe.
just didn't have time to do anything about it. Maybe it was just constant action after that. I don't know.
Yeah, I just felt like that whole third act for me, knowing that they knew where he slept and then them not doing anything with it, I think took it just kind of felt dumb.
Okay.
Now, granted, the action scenes or like that whole ending part was still good, and all the running around and like the him flying. Also, why was he not affected by the storm? He's got giant ass wings. I don't think birds can fly in storms like that very easily.
That's a good point. Well, you know what it is part of Dracula's deal is like he. Now I don't know that he can control all weather, but he has enough control over the weather to like be able to cause wind to blow in a particular direction, to cause mists to rise, and we saw that in the movie when the mist starts crawling up onto the deck.
Okay.
That's part of his like supernatural abilities.
Okay.
On that note, in terms of like from the novel Dracula, that aesthetic or that design of Dracula, where he's just like a giant ass man bat thing, that we so often
Like
go
in
to
Batman.
in movies, like in Batman. The and like you mentioned, the vampire in Midnight Mass, and I mean Dracula in, like, I'm thinking like Van Helsing, like
Yeah.
I don't know, a million other depictions of Dracula all like use that design. Like that's not part of his thing. Like he's a man, like an old man, and then he's a younger man, like when he's well fed, and then
He's a bat.
yeah, he turns into a bat. He even turns into a wolf. Like his metamorphosis is part of his abilities, and he can like turn into mist and just disappear into mist. Like
Yeah.
he can change, but it's like the powers that he has worked on and developed are to change into certain things that like cloak him, and none of it is this like not like non-existent giant man bat creature thing. Like that's not something he does. So I don't know why they
I
run
think if we're
to
talking
that
about
every
creature
time they're-
design, though, this is much better than if he were an old man. For this movie,
I don't know. When he was just the sickly old man crawling on the deck, and then he jumped onto the Russian guy, I really liked the way he looked when he was just
but he was
just
still
an old man.
He was still the man bat thing in that scene.
It was Nosferatu like, but like the wings weren't there, or they weren't evident, or whatever.
He was kind of because he definitely had the wings, because earlier before that he'd like extended them in the shadow.
Okay.
I think in that he was like, it seems like he can kind of like keep them closer to his sides at certain points.
Yeah, which makes sense.
I did like how he looked and how his hands were huge and like you could feel the power.
Yeah. And so I think my only
I don't know if this is carried over from the Del Toro, I would believe it. But like the design of him was great. Even comparing it to Midnight Mass, I still think because this movie has probably been worked on multiple years before Midnight Mass even came out. Blah blah blah. And also, like you said, it's not like this is an original depiction, because Man Bat was a thing in Batman and blah blah blah. But I do think that like the way he looked and like the sunken in eyes and the off-center teeth and the like, all of that worked for me.
I agree 100%. And that kind of was really my only point, was that despite the fact that that's not an actual Dracula morph, like that's not a form he takes ever in the book, and because of that, I generally don't like that kind of depiction of Dracula. I really did love the design in this movie, and so like watching the trailer, when it was obvious that was the style they were going with, that was like probably my biggest disappointment with the trailer. So walking into the movie, I was like, and by the end of the movie, we're gonna get this stereotypical crappy man bat Dracula.
Yeah.
But the design was so good that it overrode.
Yeah.
Overridden.
Overwritten.
Yes, my distaste for that type of design. The design was really good.
Yeah. I think you're selling me on it a little bit more. I was thinking for the sequel, what do you think it'll be called? Another voyage on of the Demeter, one more voyage of
The
the
Demeter
Demeter.
sails one last time.
Yeah,
This is my thought. I don't think they will go for a direct sequel, and I don't think they'd be smart to go for a direct sequel. I think with what they've done, where they've indicated that a wider universe exists just by including that prop, and then by saying he's going to go on to hunt Dracula, I think what they've done is they've set themselves up nicely to introduce another monster, another movie, and then to have Corey Hawkins come in at some point
he's
in
gonna
that
be Van
character's
Helsing.
movie. Yeah, he's like the Van Helsing-esque thing, right?
Yeah.
So he's going to come in that movie, like in his pursuit of Dracula, like that's going to cross over with a different movie. So instead of a direct sequel, they'll just put him in someone else's movie next, I think.
I like that.
That's what I think would be the smart thing to do.
Yeah, I do think it'd be better to keep. I think it would be cool to do an actual good Van Helsing movie.
So, you know what? I didn't, it occurred to me that he was Van Helsing-esque by the end of the movie, but it didn't occur to me that until you just said that they would actually use him to replace the character of Van Helsing from previous iterations. I hadn't thought of that, but that's totally what he'll be. He's not just hunting Dracula, but he is like a very educated doctor and like really good at transfusions. That was like Van Helsing's whole thing is when they first found out that Lucy was sick and she was wasting away, he was just doing transfusions for her like all day, all night, and that was like a very new medical procedure at the time. They had just barely begun to get transfusions to work around the time the novel Dracula was written. Okay. And they still didn't understand blood types at the time, so it was like it was hit and miss, but it was like they were just barely beginning to understand that they could work.
I was thinking that. I was like, oh, is he just O positive? Or
right, yeah. And that's the thing, is like they didn't know, and it's just sometimes it would work for a person and sometimes it wouldn't, and
I thought they did know because the father was giving the son blood. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe they do know. But yeah, now that you're saying it, yeah, I guess, yeah, why would they?
But yeah, that was like a major plot point in Dracula, was Van Helsing doing that for Lucy.
Okay.
So I hadn't put that together with his character in this movie. Like, everything about him just is Van Helsing. Yeah. So, of course, they're not going to have a Van Helsing named Van Helsing in this version of the Dark Universe. They're going to have whatever his name was. I forget.
I don't know either. Again, I'm bad at names these days in movies. I do think I want to name like a couple of the parts that I like the most.
Okay.
The little boy burning.
Oh, that's nuts.
The heartbreaking, crazy. Yep. I'm not sure if I like the fire effects all that much.
Yeah.
But
I get you.
I mean, besides Anna or whatever burning on the piece of ship mast, like I like that because I don't think we focused on it in the black bill.
Sure.
The billowing smoke kind of made the shot really cool.
Yeah.
But I don't know if the fire worked for me all the time, but I did like basically everything that amounted to this movie just being bleaker and bleaker, and like the father getting burnt by his son's flames. That was intense.
That was nuts.
Yeah, did you have any standout parts?
Yeah, one thing that occurred to me was right after the kid bursts into flames and they throw him into the ocean. Mm-hmm. When he's like sinking down under the water, and we get this like CGI'd shot of his charred face and body, and we're just following him down under the waves. In that moment, it occurred to me, I was like, wow, they really chose when to use their CGI in this movie, and I love that. Like, we needed that moment. We needed to like have this solemn, just sad as can be moment where it's like after he's gone and dead, like we follow him down under the water for a little bit, and his charred face, and it's terrible. And it was spectacular that they used CGI for things like that, whereas because I mean that's something you can make look realistic enough, whereas they didn't use it as an answer for everything. Like, for example, I think when the Demeter is leaving port. I think all of the ships that were in the port right there, like I think those were all actual wooden sailing ships just chilling in the port, and that wide shot looked amazing. I love that.
Yeah, that sounds sick. I mean, again, that was probably the part I was asleep for.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I don't really want to crap on it anymore. It was a good movie. Good movie.
Yeah,
I liked it more than Haunted Mansion, and I will stand by
Yeah,
that.
same.
And I think
I watched those two the same day.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Oh. See, I can't believe you liked Haunted Mansion at all. Then. Just kidding. It's a fine movie. It's fine.
I think I cut you off. You were saying you think it had more something.
More depth than TMNT, if we want to just compare and contrast.
For sure.
I do want to bring up something real quick about Midnight Mass. It made me upset that they never called the creature a vampire.
Oh, did they not?
Never. At least
That's
I don't feel
funny.
like they did. The entire time I was watching it, I was like, more than likely we know what vampires are in this universe. Right. But they just refuse to say that's a vampire.
They don't acknowledge it, yeah.
They call him an angel, which is cool. Like, I like that imagery, or like the reference of calling it an angel. But just not calling it a vampire felt like...
Yeah.
Like, and I guess maybe complaining about TMNT being too referential, and then saying, I wish they would have just said that's a vampire. Like, it's kind of different opposing ideas, but
But I get you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Midnight Mass was amazing. I think
it was
one of the best TV experiences in the last.
I think so. Sorry, I'm cutting you off because I'm so excited.
No, I was done. You're good.
I think like one of the best moments in television that I can think of, and like what will probably forever be one of my greatest like
him burning up on the boat
moments. No, not that. Okay. It was when the episode where he's telling the backstory, and he talks about being trapped in the cave and everything, and he talks about this thing like it's like right after it attacked him, and it's just sitting over him, and he's looking up at it, and he's like in shock and everything, and he's describing what was going through his mind at the time, and you see this visual of this just horrible looking thing, but it's haloed, behind it. It's kind of glowing. It's just a very effective shot, and he's talking about he's like, and as I looked at it, he's like, I knew, what does he say? I knew what it was. The word came to mind, and the word was angel. Yeah. And as he says that, and you realize the depth of the delusion, the horror, like just the dread just sinks in. But it's simultaneously beautiful, visually and in concept. It was one of the greatest moments I think I've seen on screen.
That priest carried that show. Like the whole show was good, but that priest carried the show on his back.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was so charismatic. Let's review Midnight Mass real quick, dude. It was good.
For real. It was good. Go watch it. Yeah. I can't remember that guy's name that made it, but he does the Hill House, Bly Manor.
Hill House was good. I never watched Bly Manor.
Yeah.
I didn't get through all of the Midnight Society.
Oh yeah, I kind of watched that one as I was falling to sleep for a couple nights in a row.
Yeah.
And it was just fine.
I thought it was pretty I want to get to the end of it, but
I don't remember if I finished it, honestly.
Yeah, I got 6 episodes in.
Yeah.
And then Jeffrey Dahmer became a craze, and then I watched 5 episodes of Jeffrey Dahmer, and I realized I don't know if I want to do that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, I was not going to watch that one.
Yeah. I don't know. Midnight Mass, I just loved the complete and utter exploration of religion in that. Because it's not too anti-God, but it's also just but it's also not pro. It's just kind of in this middle ground of more about how we use religion in our everyday lives. And how a bunch of different characters all come to those same conclusions, and or how use those same conclusions to benefit themselves or not. And it's really good.
It really is, man. Really, really good.
I know we said we might not get to them all, but Talk to Me is the one that I really wanted to talk about. So good we saved it to the end.
Oh yeah.
I I think I loved it.
Okay.
What do you think?
I struggled with it.
Okay.
I wanted to like it more than I did.
Okay.
I liked quite a few things about it though.
Okay. I think the stuff that stuck with me, a lot of it was like the style of it, and I like the kind of it's the modern horror movie style where the camera like turns and follows.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
like because we're now, instead of having like the found footage era, it seems like horror movies are now this like surgical process of camera movements and style on the screen.
Good take.
And I felt like this one, played up that very well. And I think the movie had me right when it did the big drug use scene just before the fucking, the spoilers, the massive bloody part.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought that the scene where like it solidifies that these are drugs. These kids are using it for drugs.
Right.
And they're partying and they're kind of like fucking around. Like that whole montage was amazing to me. And then the way it then led into him bashing a skull into the table, like, was crazy.
Yeah,
it made me cringe, physically.
Yeah. Yeah, that whole sequence was very intense. The beginning with like right before that montage where the one guy during his possession or whatever you want to call it
kisses the dog,
making out with the dog, like it was like plenty disturbing, and then they kind of recover from that. He gets up, runs out the room, and then everyone just kind of brushes it off, and you're allowed to settle into some comfort once again. And then they go through that montage, and you're just watching them have a blast. And what's his name is back in the room. He's gotten over it, and they're just going at it. And but you're just like. They set you up well because, like, to expect that something is going to go horribly wrong.
Yeah.
But they're also, like, the high energy of it is also kind of alleviating you at the same time.
Yeah.
And then they just really get into it. That was well built, for sure.
I really liked the... so did you... That scene where he's kissing the dog... That's a special effect. He's not actually kissing a dog there.
I hoped so. That was truly gross.
But but I read like a thing because the directors are YouTubers.
I used to watch their videos a lot, man.
Yeah, and they're very eloquent because I read like how they did it and also them talking about it, and basically like that whole thing was like. It's a very deeply embarrassing thing for this character to go through. And it's very traumatic to just, like, instead of them helping you, they're just filming you. And now that'll be out there forever. And it just seemed like the whole movie is these, like... I watched a couple of their YouTube videos. I had never seen them before. Cool. And they're these bombastic dudes took this subject matter and, like, were so delicate with it. It was so cool.
Good point.
And I think I didn't like Mia at first when I first walked into it because I don't know if I understood her rationale between like the decisions she was making.
Yeah.
And then I think after the movie I came to the conclusion. Well, one, I think they reference early on like drug use, like when she how she has that cold in the beginning of the movie.
Oh yeah, okay.
I heard
this
that.
Go for it.
I'm sorry. I heard or I read something like on a forum that was like, symptoms of colds can come from like doing, I believe, like coke or something. I've never done coke.
Yeah,
don't arrest me. I've never done it. But yeah, so like, if you kind of put it in like all of her actions in the perspective of like a drug addict, then I think everything she does makes sense.
That is so interesting. Because the person I watched the movie with afterwards, they brought that up. They're like, hey, how come her having a cold was brought up twice, but it never amounted to anything? And I was like, oh, yeah. So if that's what is going on, like, good on them for not spoon feeding it to us, but making it part of the story anyway.
Yeah.
You know what? And you really hit on probably what was my biggest difficulty with the movie was that while I liked Mia, like at first, like I liked who she was and how she was. Yeah. At every junction, every time she made a decision, I more and more like could not stand by her.
Yeah.
And it got to a point where I couldn't stand her. I was just like, no one can be this unreasonable. This is ridiculous, which is a stereotypical like horror movie thing. But this was like to another degree. She's putting her friends' lives on the line and stuff. Like even in the very beginning, like her allowing what's his name to do it. It's just like, are you kidding me right now? But the guy's sister was just as dumb because she left him alone after protesting the matter. She left. So I was very bothered by just like the unreasonability of her actions. But that is so interesting. That really shades it a lot.
Yeah,
a lot better.
And I think it's just good. Like I have had. I don't know. I don't really know their current parts, but I have people in my life that are drug addicts, and I think, if you put the irrationality, the paranoid thoughts, like
right,
you start to see that I think the possession metaphor really, really works.
Wow. Oh my gosh, I feel so irresponsible now. Like I feel like I was irresponsibly hating on certain aspects of the movie, and I might need to. Well, I don't know if I need to watch it again. It was plenty disturbing, but like I might need to like reconsider the movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How interesting.
Yeah. And I don't know if the like the ending where she's shaking the dude's hand, like I think that is pure just like leaning into the ghost aspect.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think most of the movie makes sense. I don't know. It was so interesting in the visual flair of it all, and I don't know. I think there's still problems with it. Like, I don't think it's the best horror movie currently.
Yeah.
But I think it handles a lot of those aspects pretty well. The themes.
Yeah. And also, this was another movie where, like, pretty much all the acting was really great. I thought everyone was very believable in their roles.
Oh, yeah. All the side characters are pretty good, too.
Yeah.
The sister, the boyfriend. That dynamic of the love triangle, but not really a love triangle because only one person was making it weird.
Sure. Yeah.
And then like the two friends who actually get them into the activity. What was their name? It was Haley, right?
I don't remember.
It's fine, but they were all pretty good. And I really liked all the energy, and like I think this one, if we're gonna talk about like sounding like teenagers, this feels more realistic than TMNT.
Okay. Yeah.
Again, do I have the credentials to say that as a 22-year-old male?
22-year-old
Nebraskan
Canadian male. Nebraskan male. And these are Australian teenagers.
I did like that it took place in Australia.
Yeah.
Because it's good to see Australian actors actually be Australian and not just be American.
Right, yeah. I loved that these guys, these Raka guys, like, did that. They, like, brought an Australian movie to worldwide theaters, which, like, there have been several, but, like, it's, not...
not a big
they're not mainstream, usually, yeah.
Yeah, which is weird, because Australia is like it's not that far off from us, I guess.
I know, yeah.
So it's not like completely unrelatable. Like we watch British movies all the time. Why not
For
Australian movies?
For sure. You remember that movie you introduced me to, Animal Kingdom?
Yeah.
Yeah, watching that one, like you watch it and like you could, save for the accents, you could forget it was in Australia altogether.
Yeah.
And that's why I think I mean, if you're an American watching it, it just, everything feels very relatable. And I think that's why it was so easily developed into an American-based TV show.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Animal Kingdom's great. That's another movie to recommend.
That is a good one.
The Nightingale is also an Australian movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. That one's hard to watch. That one's pretty intense. So
okay.
Maybe go into it on a day that you feel comfortable.
Gotcha. Good to know.
I thought the only thing that really took me out of Talk to Me, though, for me personally, was the reveal that the mom killed herself.
Oh,
I felt like that whole scene away from like what happens later, like the actual scene where her dad tells her, that
Yeah.
felt off.
Oh,
And
okay.
I think more from like an acting perspective than I think like the movie meant it to.
Okay. Interesting.
But that's the only thing I can think of off the bat.
Yeah. I think for me, the struggles I had were mostly like, while I liked the mechanism, like I liked this whole like shaking hands with this hand of unknown origin and, like inviting a spirit. I liked the mechanism. I thought that was fun and unique. I think once we were into the story and all the ghosty stuff was happening, I feel like there was nothing particularly clever after that. It just kind of like, I don't know, in some ways it stuck to tropes in terms of like, oh, the ghost is trying to deceive her into thinking this and all that. And so I was waiting for more cleverness. Like,
I think the clever part in that, I do think you're right, but I think the clever part is that we're in the mind of the person being possessed rather than outside of it.
Okay. Yeah.
Which I'm sure a
I could
movie
buy
has
that.
probably done that before, but this, that's what this movie is about.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I was and they're like, oh, we need to open the door again and then close it, like a little too simple of a take, but maybe the idea is like they're teenagers and they're grasping at straws and it was a stupid idea. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then they're talking about like they kind of like, oh, they've taken him and he's over here like being tortured and some, like other things want his body. Then it started to feel a lot like Insidious and talking about wandering in the further and so it just felt like thing after thing that like I've seen too many times already at a certain point. But
I wonder if the question on that is like, what is actually happening? Like, do you think that bloody orgy scene is real, or do you think that is the ghost trying to convince him?
Good point. And that might have not at all been
what was happening?
a reality. Yeah.
Because I wonder if it were, but also he was a lot more extreme than she was.
Sure.
I thought it was interesting that we got to see that they did like basically show you how how she kind of fell further into possession. Because like when he's going through that, she is holding his hand, Riley's hand, while she's holding the demon hand. So I think that kind of left her gate open a little bit.
Interesting. Yeah.
And I really liked, I think Riley was probably my favorite character.
Yeah. I think I would agree.
And then I think the get an expert scene, like we were talking about in the last horror movie, was it's both things for me, because I feel like it was forced, because it was like we needed to introduce the older brother in the beginning.
Sure.
Bring him back later, and then suddenly he has a little bit more knowledge than everyone else.
Right. Yeah.
But then I also felt like that scene really worked because the older brother, that whole dialogue between them was very genuine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I hear you on all accounts. I felt basically those same things while watching that scene. I liked the older brother a lot. His name was Cole, by the way.
Hey.
But yeah, like I wasn't 100% sure that I could believe that he was an expert on these things any more than they would be.
Yeah. And maybe it was just he did kind of say it in like a speculation way, but then it turned out to be true. So it was like, you should, since you're going to Australia, you should take a picture. You should try to find somewhere in the movie that Cole was, and take a picture, like the bus bench.
Oh man. Okay.
You're probably not even going to the same part of Australia.
Probably not. I'll have to find out. I'll have to look up where that took place. I'll very briefly be in Melbourne on a layover, and then other than that, I'm going to be in Tasmania the whole 2 weeks, so far from mainland Australia.
Yeah, so you're probably not going to be anywhere. But if you get the opportunity, that'd be a good picture.
Yeah, I'll find out if any of it was in Melbourne, and then and then I'll do that. That's a great idea. Yeah, but I think good for them for making this movie. I think making an indie horror film, which you know, gives voice to like the Australian young people.
Generation, yeah.
Yeah, thank you, younger generation. I just, yeah, good for them for doing it, and it was like a valiant. Well, valiant effort sounds patronizing. Like they really did something. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It didn't align with my tastes necessarily, and you know, I've already stated what parts of it I thought could have been, what some of my qualms with it were. But like it was well made.
Yeah.
And yeah, just good on them.
What did you think of the ending? Where, like, because I wasn't sure if she got pushed into the street or if she jumped herself into the street.
Yeah, I wanted to believe that Riley's sister pushed her.
Okay. I think I personally want it to be that Mia jumped.
Okay.
Because I think character arc wise, that's like the one time she maybe comes out of it and stops being so selfish.
Yeah.
But also it works both ways.
Yeah.
And then the hand grabbing, I also wonder if the hand's main purpose is stealing souls, or if that's just incidental that because she's a ghost, she gets to shake people's hands now.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. And really, if they want to, they've set themselves up nicely to like further explore that. Like, where did the hand come from? Prequel. Yeah. Like, they could totally do that.
Yeah, they've already announced a sequel.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, A24 did.
Okay.
I think it feels like we've kind of ran out on this one. So next time, if you come back, we're gonna be trying to do Strays, and we're gonna keep this one shorter. Strays, and I forget the other one.
Yeah, what was it? Gran Turismo.
Yeah, Strays and Gran Turismo, and then hopefully we could find something because Gran Turismo I feel like is. Prediction. Do you think it's going to be good?
I'm excited for it.
Okay.
But just because, like, despite not being, like, a racing person or whatever, like, the last couple of, like, big racing movies have, like, really taken me. Ford v Ferrari and Need for Speed come to mind. Like, I really liked those. Yeah.
So hopefully it's good. I mean, it is based on... I don't know if I like David Harbour.
Oh, okay.
Because in Silent Night, he was all right. But it's like, he's not the best part of Silent Night.
Violent Night.
That's Violent Night. Yeah. John Leguizamo is the best part of Violent Night.
Okay.
And I don't... Like, I like him in Stranger Things, but whenever he's in that trailer for Gran Turismo, I'm just not feeling it. He feels too quirky.
Okay.
Maybe it'll be different because, you know, you were talking about how the vampire in the Voyage of Demeter, you know, was saved by the movie. Maybe the trailer is just bad.
Yeah, could be. Guess we'll see. I could get that though. Like he in the trailer he does that thing, right? Like the expression of doubt thing. He just says that stereotypical, "You're telling me you want to da 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 da," that kind of thing. Yeah, it did come off pretty weak.
Or the line where he says, "You're pissing on my grass." Like, it didn't work. It doesn't work for me.
That's funny.
And I do want to find out how accurate it is to real life.
Yeah, like inspired by true events. Like, I wonder what actually happened.
I do believe the guy it's based off of does still race. Or at least he did have a career. But was there a training camp for a bunch of gaming losers to fucking get behind wheels?
Yeah, I wonder what the deal was.
Yeah. Anyways, we'll see you next time. Thank you for hanging out. And
thank you, homies.
Bye-bye.
Pew!
Sick.